Welcome to our roundtable of CWA, Local 1180, and its president, Gloria Middleton. We're now going to take on the topic, a very important topic, of the census and immigration. The two seem to go hand in hand. Let me introduce the panel that is with us besides President Middleton, and we are joined by Amanda Novello. Amanda is a representative from the private sector shops. She works at the Century Foundation. We are also joined by Sharon Hepburn, who is administrative manager with the New York City Comptroller's office. We're joined today by Mr. Anthony Lewis. Mr. Lewis is a PAA at HRA, and Mary Mason. Mary is a local 1180 retiree from HRA. President Middleton, I guess let's start with the issue of the census, which has become controversial again. But why does it seem like the census and immigration go hand in hand?
Well, if you just read the newspapers and how 45 tried to put that question on the census, you would understand, and I know you do. The census is very important. It qualifies us as to how many people we get to elect into Congress. We know how important that is. If we don't have the numbers, they will reduce the number of people that we get represented in each district. We have our urban districts and we have our other districts. We have to get counted. A lot of immigrants are living in the urban districts, and because of that question, are you a citizen, may not want to participate in the census. And that's why it was so important to leave that question out. It's about numbers. Census determines how much money you get for your schools, how much you get for land use, how much you get for districting. It's just too important for people not to participate in. I can say as a board member of the Central Labor Council, we are putting all stops, all hands on deck to make sure that we get into these communities to let them know how important the census is. They do not have to worry about their immigration status. This form goes to a different agency that's not a part of the ICE. So we're trying to reassure them that ICE will not come after them because of this census. And it's only going to help the community rather than hinder. It's so important that we talk to our immigrants that are here and make them understand that, because we want them to fill out those forms. There are children here that were born here that they're sending to schools. So if they want the right allocation made for schools in their district, we need to make sure those numbers are there. It continues to be an issue for those communities because they're scared as to what we just saw in Mississippi, where people who are working, this is what, and I have to just do a USA for a minute.
Take a deep breath. But I feel you, Madam President, as you say that people are scared, because in Staten Island, the Mexican community is afraid. Sunset Park, people are afraid. So you hit it on the head here with what's going on. You have people that in some cases that are afraid to come out in public.
Exactly. So we can't say enough how important it is for people, our members, to know first that they need to make sure the census is done. If they have a neighbor that they know who might be an immigrant and might be afraid, talk to them, because we find that people are comfortable with people who they know when it comes to these government issues. I don't know what my other panelists have been experienced with the census, what has been going on and the information that they have been receiving. Sharon?
Well, I think it's a scare tactics they're using to scare people away and also to hurt communities. And yes, it is important for us to bring awareness to this and encourage people to follow the census and make sure that, they spread the word around. So it's just letting people know what is really going on, and this is not, something that's gonna hurt them personally.
And also, I heard that when you fill out the census and they're asking about your ethnicity, that if you're from Jamaica or the islands, that you should check black. Because if you check anything other than, and you are black, then that's not counted towards black people in that community. And I thought that was very important for members to know about.
What have you heard out there?
I'm from Staten Island, and I see the influx of the Mexicans in the neighborhood, and I'm gonna do everything in my power to convince them that this is helping the community that we both live in, and the schools in these communities that they go to school with my grandchildren. So, and they are working people. They work harder than a lot of people I know.
Exactly.
And they shouldn't be afraid to be counted. I understand they're afraid of getting that knock on their door by ICE, and it could be scary, but we got to really let them know that this census count ain't gonna affect who knocks on their door as far as taking them away.
And that knock on the door, the immigration crisis that we seem to be having in America, I don't get, and then I do get what the debate is, because it's a form of playing to 45's base. Okay, their base, that base believes the outsiders don't belong, it's just us, and we need to keep the outsiders out. What this country fails to understand is everybody that's here is an outsider, except the Native American who was here when whoever discovered America, because I have my issues about that too.
Yeah.
But we won't go into that debate. So how dare you talk about immigrants because they come from brown countries? How dare you talk about who should be here and who should not? There needs to be a way where people can work their way into legal access, being here legally. But people are coming from countries where if they stay, their women are going to get raped, their children are going to get taken in for various things. Modern day slavery still happens in these countries. We won't even talk about what goes on in Mexico and why they are so ready to come into the United States, because there's just no democracy there. People need to educate themselves as to what is really going on, and the issue of separating children from adults, that has to stop.
We need to bring Amanda in on this conversation.
Yeah, just on the topic of talking about what brings people here. I think we were all talking about climate change earlier before this roundtable started, and I think something that is often ignored in the immigration discussion is that droughts, food security are all issues that are being faced right now in Central Latin America, and that's why a lot of immigrants are coming from countries like Guatemala and Honduras. And I just think it's important to talk about the root causes rather than blaming people. People don't want to walk thousands of miles and leave their homes and their families. Like, we need to, I think, give them a break.
Yes.
And just to say, look what's happening in Venezuela. I mean, that's like the perfect example where the oil was flowing, and all of a sudden they have no food, and they're migrants now running, to other places just to survive. So
Yeah,
just to
so,
reiterate,
yeah,
what you're
and
saying.
the census question, I think, as you all mentioned, is just another fear tactic upon many others that have been pushed out in the
But
public sphere.
Sharon said fear tactic, and Amanda, you said the same thing. Fear tactic for what?
To make people not want to come, to keep
Yes.
non-white people out of the country.
Exactly. And it was strange how 45 said he wanted people to come from, what was it, Switzerland? And
Predominantly white countries.
and that's a clear indication of how racist he is.
Don't forget the predominantly white countries, you're welcome to come in. Predominantly African countries were assholes.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
yes. So we need to have more of this conversation and to make sure that people understand what the real issue is. In closing, I just want to emphasize to everyone that the question of citizenship is not on the census form. If anybody asks you, are you a citizen, you have the right not to answer that question. Can't emphasize that enough. Do not be afraid to answer the census form. It's for your benefit. The government has no right to get into the census information. It is not going to any government agency to come to try to find you. Please fill out your census forms.
Madam President, we thank you for that comment, for clarifying as it relates to the census. We hope you enjoyed this segment and will join us for the next one. The topic at hand, millennials and politics. We'll see you then.